What's up, my people? So I'm going to show you how to notch some tubes. Part of tube fabrication, it requires a lot of notching, and I've done it a bunch of different ways. I've done it with a grinder or a bell mouth each tube. I've done it with a chop saw for many years. You just kind of get a feel for it. I've done it with tube notchers, the ones you put on the drill press. Those are cool. They tend to frustrate me, so I'm not the biggest fan of those. And then I moved up to a Mittler Brothers Ultimate Tube Notcher, so I pretty much adore that thing. So I'll be showing you a little bit about how I get through the process of notching tubes and fitting them to the chassis, which is really important for fitment is key, because if you have too much gap, it requires a lot more welding, which puts more heat in the area, which makes weaker tube chassis or tube front construction. So here, this is a tube front end, and I'm pretty close to finishing it. And these are some of the little gussets under here for the radiator mount. And what I'm using is a level. I'm using an angle finder. I was using this. This is called a tape measure for when I measure to cut the tubes. If you look at the video before, it's where I'm cleaning the mill finish off these here said tubes. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm going to take the level, because I want these tubes to be level. The car is pretty much level, so I could find all my angles from this. What I'm going to do is swing this thing inward, and I found it level, and I'm taking it from the center line of my down tube to the point where it's going to weld on. It's not necessarily an exact science, but you get pretty close the more you do it. Okay. So I am at 80 degrees. So this will be my mark. I'll mark in 80 degrees here. So this will be what I'll set up my Mittler Brothers Ultimate Tube Notcher to 80 degrees. Marks. And my top will just be at 90 degrees. Since I'm pretty much level. I'm making little marks on here so I know what's going on. Helps me remember, because you leave your project, you walk over to your grinder, and sometimes something interrupts you, the phone rings, you hear a nice song, and you totally forget, or you space out, and you're thinking about nachos or something like that, I don't know. So that's this, that's the fitment that goes here, and it's kicked in, it's not straight, it's 80 degrees. And this should be 90 degrees parallel, which we can check that. I mean, I can put this thing at level. We can figure out if it's 90. It's actually really hard to figure out if this is 90. Put it here, and that's level. If this is level, it'll be 90. Okay, so we got that down. So now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what our angled notch is here. That's going to butt up against this. It's going to be a pretty big notch. One of the fun things about fabrication is you get to get down on the ground. You get to get dirty. All right. Cool, it's 30 degrees. So this will be 30 degrees up here in the front. All right. Let's go notch it. All right. This thing is pretty easy to adjust. So it's nice, there's a little indicator of degrees right here. So I could start it out with my 90-degree notch first. Lock it down with the wrench. And what I'm going to have to do I'm going to have to start it on the end here because it only has one notch. That end tube doesn't. This notch won't go all the way through. Now I flip it on, tighten it down, check it out, double check. Tighten it down, flip it on, safety third. So there's my 90. And what I'll do is I'll put the 90 parallel. And there's a couple ways you could do this. I mean, if you really want to get technical, you could shove a tube in here. You can put it up here and you can put your degree finder or your level on here to find your parallel. But I'll just be getting it as close as I can. We can adjust it after that. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen it again. I'm going to take it to 80 degrees as we measured on the chassis. Tightening it up. Flip it on. Now I'm watching to make sure that that 90-degree mark I don't cross that 90-degree mark because that's where my tubing is running parallel across it. Okay. So that's good. So you see we're pretty much there for that part. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it and I'm going to try and get my 30 degrees out of this. 30 degrees is a lot to notch. So a lot of degrees, a lot of notchers won't do 30 degrees. Hole saws, when you start doing angles like this with the hole saw degree, I mean the hole saw notchers, it's just, yeah, have fun with that. And how I line this up is I look through the notch that I did. I look where it's clamping on here. And I can see that that's at the center of my notch. So I clamp it down, bring this thing out. So I am at 30 degrees on my degree indicator here. Try and clamp down good. And let's fire it up. Alright, there you have it, 30-degree notch. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 notches in, I don't know, what was that, 5 minutes or less? So let's go check, make sure it fits. Pretty close. I think I'm probably sitting a little bit low, so I need to shrink it up a little bit. So, yeah, my angle's a little low. So what I'll do is I'll notch these a little bit more, and this thing should sit flush. Either do that, or I can continue notching on this till it sits flush for my my 30-degree notch. I can just keep going, which I'll probably end up doing that. See how that works. Coming back. It's not always a perfect process. I mean, if I can, I should, or I could spend a little more time measuring the actual top and bottom dimensions. Get it a lot better. Now to reset this thing up, I bump it back on the end mill. Okay. That'll line me up, and then flip it on. So if you do tube fabrication, you know there is a lot of back and forth. So here we're getting pretty close. I'm going to check the level. Needs to come up a bit more. Tell you what's really nice when you do it one time and you're done. That's my favorite. So now we're getting it closer. There we go. Now, are we level? Pretty much. So, there's your 30-degree fit. Everything is in line. And this is a, that's a weldable piece right there. Thanks for watching. See you next time.